a gentle invitation to the sea. Before we begin, take a slow, comfortable breath. Allow your shoulders to soften. Let the sounds of the world become quieter. And imagine that tonight, you are standing beside a peaceful ocean. The sky is deep blue. The waves move slowly toward the shore. Far away, a single lighthouse glows with a warm golden light. It is unlike any lighthouse found on ordinary maps. Sailors rarely speak of it. Travelers almost never find it. Only those who truly need a peaceful night are quietly guided there. The sea breeze feels cool against your face. It carries the gentle scent of salt, fresh rain, and old wooden boats resting peacefully in the harbor. Above you, thousands of tiny stars shimmer softly, but something about the sky feels different. Every now and then, one small star slowly drifts downward, not falling, not burning, simply floating, like a glowing feather dancing through the night. You begin walking along a narrow stone path. Small lanterns stand beside the road. Each lantern glows with a calm amber light. Their warm light seems to welcome every traveler without saying a single word. The only sounds you hear are the gentle waves, the distant cries of sleepy seabirds, and the quiet whisper of the wind. After a few peaceful moments, you finally arrive at the lighthouse. It stands tall upon a cliff overlooking the endless sea. Its white walls shine softly beneath the moonlight. The windows glow with warm golden light. The wooden door slowly opens. Before you even knock, standing there is an elderly lighthouse keeper. His silver hair moves gently with the ocean breeze. His eyes are kind, peaceful, and filled with quiet wisdom. He smiles as though he has been expecting you. "Welcome," he says softly. "I've been waiting for you." His voice is calm, like waves brushing softly against the shore. He invites you inside. The lighthouse feels warm and comforting. Wooden floors gently creak beneath your feet. Shelves filled with old journals, tiny glass bottles, brass telescopes, and glowing lanterns line the walls. Everything feels peaceful. Nothing rushes. Nothing demands your attention. A small kettle quietly sings over the fireplace. The lighthouse keeper pours you a cup of warm herbal tea. The gentle aroma fills the room. Chamomile, honey, a hint of lavender. You wrap your hands around the warm cup. Outside, the waves continue their slow rhythm. For several quiet minutes, neither of you speaks. Silence here never feels empty. It feels safe. Eventually, the keeper looks toward the tall window. Another tiny star slowly drifts down from the night sky. He smiles gently. "It is time." He carefully picks up a beautiful lantern made from clear crystal. Its light is soft, almost like moonlight resting inside glass. "You may wonder," he whispers, "why this lighthouse exists." He opens the door once again. The cool night air welcomes both of you. High above, another glowing star slowly floats downward. The keeper carefully raises his lantern. Without making a sound, the tiny star gently settles inside. Its warm light fills the crystal lantern. "There," he smiles. Another lost star has found its home. You watch in complete silence. For the first time in your life, the night sky feels close enough to touch, and somewhere deep inside, you begin to feel lighter, as though every quiet wave, every gentle breeze, and every glowing star has been waiting just for you. The lighthouse keeper closes the crystal lantern with gentle hands. The tiny star inside continues to glow, not brightly, but with a soft, peaceful light. He smiles and quietly says, "Come with me. There is something I would like to show you." Together, you begin climbing the old wooden staircase. Each step creaks softly beneath your feet. The sound is slow, comforting, almost like the lighthouse itself is breathing. Small lanterns line the walls. Their warm, golden light gently guides your way upward. Outside, the steady rhythm of the waves follows you. The wind softly brushes against the lighthouse windows. It feels as though the sea is quietly humming a lullaby. After climbing for a little while, the keeper opens an old wooden door. A warm glow spills into the hallway. You step inside and stop in quiet wonder. The room is unlike anything you have ever seen. Hundreds of crystal lanterns rest upon long wooden shelves. Inside every lantern, a tiny star sleeps peacefully. Some glow with pale silver light. Others shimmer with soft blue, golden amber, gentle lavender, or the faint color of moonlight. The entire room shines like a peaceful sky brought down to earth. Yet nothing feels bright. Everything feels calm, gentle, perfect for resting. The keeper slowly walks between the shelves. He carefully places the newly collected star beside the others. The little star flickers once, as if whispering a quiet thank you. Before settling into peaceful silence, you notice something unusual. None of the stars look lonely. Each one seems perfectly content, resting quietly beside the others. The keeper notices your curiosity. He smiles. People often believe stars belong only in the sky. He pauses. But sometimes, even stars become tired. You listen quietly. On certain nights, a few stars leave the heavens, not because they are lost, but because they need somewhere peaceful to rest. His words drift gently through the room. They stay here for a little while, listening to the waves, feeling the warmth of the lighthouse, until they are ready to return home. You slowly walk along the shelves. Every lantern seems slightly different. One glows like fresh snowfall. Another feels warm like a quiet sunrise. One shines with the color of autumn leaves. Another carries the gentle silver light of a full moon. The air smells of cedar wood, old books, warm tea, and the clean scent of the ocean. There is no hurry here, no clocks, no loud voices, only quiet moments. The keeper hands you a small crystal lantern. It is empty, light as a feather, smooth beneath your fingertips. "You may carry this tonight," he says softly. "Sometimes a star chooses its own traveler." You look through the clear crystal. For a moment, it catches the moonlight. Tiny reflections dance across the wooden floor. Outside, another peaceful breeze drifts across the sea. Far above, the stars continue their slow, silent journey. And somewhere beyond the lighthouse, one tiny light has already begun floating gently toward you. The empty crystal lantern rested lightly in your hands as you followed the lighthouse keeper back outside. The night had grown even quieter. The sea stretched endlessly beneath the moon, moving in slow, gentle waves that shimmered like silver silk. A cool breeze drifted across the cliff, carrying the scent of salt, rain, and distant pine trees. For a while, neither of you spoke. There was no need. The silence itself felt like an old friend. Above the lighthouse, thousands of stars continued to glow peacefully. Then, one tiny light slowly separated from the others. It did not fall. It floated, slowly, gracefully, as though the night itself were guiding its journey. The keeper smiled but said nothing. He simply nodded toward your lantern. You raised it carefully. For a brief moment, the tiny star hovered in front of you, its gentle light reflected in your eyes. It seemed almost curious, as though it wished to know who you were. Without making a single sound, the little star drifted closer. It circled the lantern once, then twice, before gently settling inside. The crystal lantern filled with a warm, golden glow. The light was soft enough to rest your eyes upon. It felt warm, not against your skin, but somewhere deep inside your heart. You looked toward the keeper. He smiled with quiet satisfaction. "It has chosen you." His voice was barely louder than the breeze. "Not every traveler receives a star on the first night." You both stood quietly as the waves rolled against the rocks far below. The little star flickered gently inside the lantern. Its light rose and fell like slow breathing. The keeper began walking along a narrow path behind the lighthouse. You followed. The path curved through a peaceful garden filled with white flowers that only opened beneath the moon. Tiny drops of dew rested on every petal. Whenever the wind touched them, they sparkled like little pieces of the night sky. At the center of the garden stood an old wooden bench. Its surface had been polished smooth by countless peaceful evenings. The keeper sat down. You joined him. Together, you watched the quiet sea. No ships crossed the horizon. No voices echoed through the night. Only waves, wind, and the gentle glow of the little star resting safely beside you. For the first time in a very long while, it felt as though the world had completely forgotten how to hurry. And perhaps that was exactly how the night was meant to be. As you sat quietly on the old wooden bench, the little star inside your lantern began to glow a little brighter. Not enough to light the entire garden, only enough to illuminate the white flowers growing nearby. The petals slowly shimmered like tiny pearls beneath the moonlight. The lighthouse keeper smiled. "They're waking up," he whispered. You looked around. One by one, more flowers gently opened. Each blossom turned toward the little lantern in your hands, as if greeting an old friend. The night breeze carried a sweet fragrance through the garden. It was soft, almost impossible to describe. It smelled like warm honey, fresh rain, and memories of peaceful evenings long ago. The keeper slowly stood. There is one more place I'd like to show you. You followed him along another narrow path that curved behind the lighthouse. The sound of the sea grew softer. Soon, you heard something else. A small stream. Its water flowed so gently that it sounded more like a quiet whisper than a river. When you reached it, you stopped in amazement. The water reflected the stars so perfectly that it was impossible to tell where the sky ended and the stream began. Tiny lights drifted slowly across its surface. Some looked like stars. Some looked like little lanterns. The keeper knelt beside the water. He dipped his fingertips into the stream. Soft circles spread across the surface. As they moved outward, the reflections gently danced with them. "This," he said quietly, "is where every resting star comes before returning to the sky." You watched the peaceful water without speaking. The little star inside your lantern flickered once, then answered with another gentle glow. It was almost as though the stream and the star recognized one another. The keeper smiled. They never forget where they have been. For several quiet minutes, you simply listened. The flowing water, the distant waves, the wind moving through the flowers. Every sound blended together like a gentle lullaby. The night felt endless, calm, safe. Above you, the stars continued shining peacefully, and for the first time, you no longer felt like a visitor beneath the night sky. You felt as though you had quietly become part of it. The gentle stream continued its peaceful journey toward the sea. You followed its quiet flow beside the lighthouse keeper. The little star inside your lantern glowed with a calm, steady light, gently lighting the path before you. After a short walk, the stream led to a small wooden bridge. It was old yet beautifully cared for. Soft moss covered its edges, and tiny lanterns hung from each railing, swaying gently with the breeze. The keeper paused in the middle of the bridge. "Listen carefully," he whispered. You closed your eyes. At first, you heard only the water. Then, very softly, you noticed another sound, a quiet melody. It seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. It wasn't played by any instrument. It was the sea, the wind, the stars, all singing together in perfect harmony. The music was so gentle that it felt more like a memory than a song. When you opened your eyes, the little star inside your lantern shimmered in time with the melody. Its light slowly rose, then faded, like a peaceful heartbeat. The keeper looked toward the horizon. "Every night," he said softly, "the ocean sings to the stars that are resting here. They remember the journey that brought them, and when the time is right, they find their way home." You remained on the bridge, watching the endless sea. The moon painted a silver path across the water. Far in the distance, a single shooting star crossed the sky. But unlike the others, it didn't disappear. Instead, it slowed, turning gently toward the lighthouse. The keeper smiled knowingly. "It seems another traveler is on the way." The breeze grew a little cooler. The lanterns along the bridge swayed quietly. The sea continued its endless lullaby, and together, you waited peacefully beneath the stars. knowing that every quiet night still held gentle wonders waiting to be found. The quiet glow in the distance grew a little brighter with every passing moment. It was not another star, nor was it a ship. It moved slowly across the surface of the sea without making a single ripple. Soon, a small wooden boat appeared beneath the moonlight. Its sail shimmered like soft silver fabric, gently catching the night breeze. There was no one rowing, yet the little boat drifted effortlessly toward the shore. When it reached the wooden dock below the lighthouse, it came to a gentle stop. The lighthouse keeper smiled warmly. "It has arrived right on time." You followed him down the winding stone steps that led to the water. The waves quietly welcomed the tiny boat, rocking it ever so gently. Inside the boat rested a single wooden chest. It was small, old, and beautifully carved with tiny stars and crescent moons. The keeper carefully lifted the chest onto the dock. He slowly opened the lid. Inside, there was no gold, no jewels, only dozens of tiny glass bottles. Each bottle held a soft, glowing light. Some glowed pale blue, others shone with warm gold or gentle silver. The lights drifted lazily inside the bottles like tiny fireflies. You looked at them in quiet wonder. "What are they?" you asked softly. The keeper closed the chest with great care. "They are peaceful wishes," he replied. "Every night, while people around the world fall asleep, some of their kindest wishes quietly find their way across the sea. They come here, where they rest until the night carries them to someone who needs a little hope." A gentle breeze swept across the water. The little star inside your lantern glowed a little brighter, as though it understood every word. The keeper handed you one of the tiny glass bottles. It felt surprisingly warm in your hands. Inside, a small golden light floated peacefully, moving as slowly as a drifting cloud. You held it close for a moment, without knowing why. A quiet feeling of comfort filled your heart. The keeper smiled. "Some gifts are not meant to be opened, only carried." You carefully placed the tiny bottle beside the glowing star inside your lantern. The two lights rested together in perfect harmony. Above you, the stars continued their endless watch over the sleeping world. The sea whispered gently against the shore, and somewhere beyond the quiet horizon, another peaceful night was only just beginning. The lantern felt slightly warmer as you carried it back along the stone path. Inside, the little star and the tiny golden wish rested together, glowing with a calm, comforting light. The lighthouse keeper walked beside you in peaceful silence. Above, the moon climbed a little higher into the sky. Its silver light spread across the ocean until the water looked like a blanket of soft glass. As you reached the lighthouse once more, the keeper gently opened a small wooden gate you had not noticed before. Beyond it lay a quiet orchard. Instead of ordinary trees, tall moon trees stood in neat rows. Their branches were covered with silver leaves that shimmered whenever the wind passed through them. Small white blossoms floated gently to the ground, but they did not fall quickly. They drifted slowly through the air like tiny feathers. The keeper reached out and caught one blossom in his hand. He placed it gently into your palm. It felt cool, light, almost weightless. "This tree blooms only at night," he said softly. "It blossoms whenever the world becomes quiet enough to listen." You looked around. The orchard was completely still. There were no insects, no distant voices, only the gentle rustling of silver leaves. Suddenly, a tiny rabbit with snow-white fur appeared between the trees. It paused for a moment, looking at you with calm, curious eyes. Then it quietly continued on its way, disappearing deeper into the orchard. The keeper smiled. "Every creature here knows that this is a place of peace." You continued walking until you reached the oldest tree in the garden. Its trunk was wide and smooth, glowing faintly beneath the moonlight. Hanging from one of its branches was a simple wooden swing. It moved gently with the breeze, though no one was sitting on it. The keeper nodded toward it. "You may rest here for a while." You sat carefully on the swing. It rocked back and forth in the gentlest rhythm. The movement was slow, comforting, like being carried by calm ocean waves. You looked down at your lantern. The little star flickered softly. The tiny golden wish glowed beside it. Together, they filled the lantern with the warmest light you had ever seen. As you continued to sway beneath the silver leaves, you realized something beautiful. The lighthouse was not simply collecting lost stars. It was quietly collecting moments of peace, one gentle night at a time. The swing came to a gentle stop. For a few quiet moments, you simply listened to the silver leaves rustling above your head. Each soft whisper blended with the distant waves, creating a melody that seemed to slow the passing of time. The lighthouse keeper waited patiently. Then he smiled. "There is one last place we visit before dawn." You stood and followed him beyond the orchard. A narrow path of smooth white stones led toward the edge of the cliffs. The air grew cooler. The stars appeared even brighter than before. Soon, you reached a wide circle made of ancient stones. In the very center stood a small stone fountain. Instead of water, a gentle silver mist rose quietly into the night. It curled through the air like soft clouds before fading beneath the moonlight. The keeper stepped closer to the fountain. He carefully lifted your lantern and held it above the silver mist. The little star inside glowed brighter. The tiny golden wish shimmered beside it. For a brief moment, the two lights floated together, dancing peacefully inside the crystal lantern. Then something wonderful happened. Tiny points of light slowly emerged from the mist, hundreds of them. They drifted upward without making a sound. Some circled the fountain, some floated toward the sea, others rose gently into the endless sky. You watched in silent amazement. "They are forgotten dreams," the keeper whispered. "Dreams that were never truly lost. They simply waited for someone to believe in quiet nights again." The lights continued rising higher and higher. None of them hurried. Each one found its own gentle path among the stars. You looked toward the ocean. The moon's reflection stretched across the calm water like a silver ribbon leading into the horizon. A peaceful feeling settled deep within you. It felt as though every worry had quietly drifted away with the night breeze. The keeper looked up at the sky and smiled. The stars always remember those who walk gently through the night. You lowered your eyes to the lantern. The little star rested peacefully. The tiny golden wish glowed softly beside it, and for the first time, it felt as though the light inside the lantern was also shining quietly within you. The silver mist slowly faded until only a few tiny lights remained drifting above the ancient fountain. The night had become wonderfully still. Even the breeze seemed to move more gently now. You and the lighthouse keeper began walking back toward the cliffs. The lantern in your hands felt lighter than before. Its warm glow quietly illuminated the white stone path. As you reached the edge of the cliff, the keeper stopped. Far below, the sea stretched endlessly into the darkness. Its slow waves reflected the moon like polished silver. Near the horizon, the first hint of dawn was beginning to appear, not bright enough to chase away the stars, only a faint ribbon of soft blue resting above the water. The keeper looked at the sky with a peaceful smile. It is almost time. He carefully opened the top of your crystal lantern. The little star remained still for a moment, as if taking one final peaceful breath. Then, very gently, it floated upward. The tiny golden wish followed beside it. Together they rose into the cool morning air, higher and higher, until they became two beautiful points of light among the countless stars above. You watched them without speaking. There was no sadness in saying goodbye, only gratitude. The keeper quietly nodded. They never truly leave. They simply carry a little of this peaceful place with them, wherever they shine. The sky slowly grew brighter. The stars began disappearing one by one into the gentle light of morning. The lighthouse stood quietly behind you, its golden lamp still glowing softly. The sea continued its endless rhythm. The birds had not yet begun to sing. For one last precious moment, the whole world seemed suspended between night and day. You took a slow breath. The salty ocean air filled your lungs. The peaceful silence filled your heart. And deep inside, you knew that no matter where life would lead you, whenever you closed your eyes and listened carefully, you would always find your way back to the lighthouse that quietly collected lost stars. The first golden rays of morning gently touched the top of the lighthouse. The ocean slowly changed from silver to soft shades of blue. The waves continued their quiet dance against the shore, just as they had throughout the night. The lighthouse keeper stood beside the wooden door, smiling with the same peaceful kindness that had welcomed you hours before. "It is time for your journey home," he said softly. You looked back one last time. The white lighthouse stood proudly above the cliffs. The moonlit garden rested peacefully beneath the trees. The crystal room, the quiet stream, the silver orchard, and the ancient fountain all seemed wrapped in a gentle morning glow. Everything felt wonderfully calm. The keeper reached into his coat and placed a small seashell in your hand. It was smooth and white, with a tiny silver star naturally shaped upon its surface. "This is for you," he whispered. "Whenever the world feels too loud, hold this close, close your eyes, and remember this place." You carefully slipped the little shell into your pocket. Although it was small, it somehow carried the same warmth as the crystal lantern. You thanked the keeper with a quiet smile. Words no longer seemed necessary. Some moments were simply too peaceful for conversation. You slowly walked down the familiar stone path. The tiny lanterns beside the trail were beginning to fade as daylight filled the sky. Behind you, the lighthouse remained silent. Ahead, the world slowly awakened. Seabirds began their gentle morning songs. The breeze carried the fresh scent of the sea across the cliffs. You reached the end of the path and turned around one final time. For just a heartbeat, the lighthouse seemed to shine a little brighter. The keeper raised his hand in a quiet farewell. Then a thin morning mist drifted across the cliffs. When it cleared, the lighthouse was gone. Only the endless ocean remained. You smiled softly. Some places are never meant to appear on ordinary maps. They reveal themselves only to those who truly need a night of peace. And, perhaps, on some quiet evening, when the stars begin to glow and the waves whisper gently along the shore, you may find that hidden lighthouse once again. Until then, may your dreams be gentle, may your heart remain light, and may every peaceful night remind you that somewhere beyond the horizon, a quiet lighthouse is still watching over the sea, collecting lost stars, one by one,